Hello everyone. Hi, this is a video on the new trailers that come out recently on Venom and on the new Matrix. And I really wanted to start off and say that Venom it has a whole lot of potential, I think, but with Venom, the one weird thing that I didn't quite understand why they didn't do. Venom's character was essentially a symbiotic, like, costume that was modeled after Spider-Man. Spider-Man comes first in that order of events, where he's consumed by the symbiote, and when that happens, you see it like takes over his costume, and that's why he gets those wide eyes. That's why it forms and contorts the spider symbol. Like, only when that happens, only when the symbiote sticks to him, does that happen. And does it have any recollection of that, or any basis to to contort a design of any kind. So if you watch the Venom movie, you just see this symbiote creature uh, immediately assume this wide-eyed, like, snarling creature. And that's the other thing, the teeth. The teeth did not show up on Spider-Man. You know, the teeth didn't show up there. He didn't have a lashing tongue on him. And that only happened because it took on the personality of someone who had, like, rage, right? And that was supposed to be a symbolic of vengeance. And it's like saying it's not exactly a bad thing, but it is very much a dangerous thing. So when he takes on the personality, the personality, he shows all this, like, snarling, lashing, like, feature, and characteristics and stuff. And so yeah, like, how are you gonna just dismiss all of Spider-Man when Spider-Man is what produced his look? It's like that's the whole reason it has a look. Like, it's kind of like a deformed Spider-Man, like, friend, friend of Spider-Man's. That's the other thing. Like, that's what made it so perfect, was that symbiote is actually just a friend that was discarded, and so it takes with him being the symbiote. It takes with him the memory, and so it brings this look back in, to another person, and that person is just a jilted. Excuse me, the symbiote's just a jilted creature, and so the person, it takes hold of him, and just says, like, well, since you're angry at the same person, I am. Let's just team up. We're just this perfect match. And it's like, I enjoy your company quite much. And that's how that's supposed to be born. So having said that, all that is pretty much lost on on the general audience. It's like lost in the story and the plot, and lost on the people who, just don't understand why why it has the look it does. You can't just kind of gloss over stuff. You can't just like that. You can't just assume like, oh, we're gonna take it and take the whole origin story and mess with it. You can tell that like every other person that the symbiote assumes is just just like a wide-eyed. It's just doesn't have the same look to him. Why don't everybody else have that look to him? It's just really it's silly. Um, I mean, that's just one thing about it. So much of that gets lost. All right, the whole nature of Venom, the whole character of him is now has less meaning, less little points added to it. So there you go. It's like that's one thing. The second thing about these Venom movies, it really has this. If you started from the basis of your comic book knowledge, then you would have gotten to a place where you could have taken all these liberties. But since they don't, and you couldn't really do all this really graphic, experimental kind of direction and cinematography and everything, and you just couldn't make a better movie. I mean, even though a movie about a sharp-toothed black monster with a long tongue, it's like that's a movie for the ages. It just won't happen. It won't happen because obviously you're not confident enough with everything you have, because you're actually having to, from the very beginning, you're having to divulge the whole story, all the Marvel comics, just divulging the story, and you're just kind of having to be unsure about where this creature comes from and what its identity is and everything. And it just you can just tell it's just like it's not nearly as dramatic as it could be. Those Spider-Man movies that Sam Raimi directed were incredibly dramatic, and they were much better films for it. And those are like just a shining, gleaming example of gleaming. Even the third one had all these, yeah, had all these cooks in the kitchen, and even then, it was still a very competent movie. And so yeah, why would anyone want to go see a lesser film? Why it's only and only if it's a lesser, like, it's only a lesser film because it has a lesser ideas. The ideas have been lessened. So why would you go see a movie based on? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, it looks great. You know, now that they've moved on from the origin story, maybe it won't be that focus I'll put on it, but maybe they'll have a whole new story to go with. Maybe they'll find like a way to usher in someone else's story, obviously, like Carnage. So maybe it won't be half-assed, rushed, you know, cheap at all. But it's still PG-13, so and they're still very much playing it safe. Well, that's kind of dumb. If it's kind of dumb to even do that. Why would you do that to all these '90s kids? What are you doing? What are you actually? I mean, what are you trying to do? If you're make a half-ass Carnage Venom battle. I mean, this is history in the making, and we're just like, we're just seeing what these small trailers I mean, the comics did it right. How can you think you're going to do it better than the comics? You cannot. We should. I mean, the smartest thing you could do as a filmmaker would be to take the comics, do them exactly like they were, but shoot it really gorgeous. Um, Make it dark and very visceral, intense enough for the audience. Um, you feel like it's happening. So yeah, the Matrix 4. The Matrix is gonna really shine. It's gonna come back really hard. You can tell with this. You can tell with this trailer. This is like they've got so much more to talk about. Um, all those blue pills that you see Keanu taking. That really struck a chord. That was something that was so different. And the fact that he kind of comes into contact with Trinity again. Like Caesar doesn't really notice, doesn't really understand why this deja vu is happening. It's reminiscent of the original, but let's hope it's not another origin story. Um, but it's reminiscent in a very interesting way, like noticing someone you don't know why you know them. It's like this character is going back to a place that he just has no. He's very. He's like this very like distant, loose connection to. He doesn't really know what that's all about. Uh, and all the fight scenes seem like they've really been improved. Someone told me once that it was the fact that they had to rush the sequels that made it, that made them so bad. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, hey, they've had like 15 years now. So, in Matrix 4, I hope I'm gonna say it's gonna be a very very good time, just because it's very mystifying, in its like approach to how this man still exists, and uh, it's like there's a lot they're gonna explain, but but it's almost like the Matrix isn't going to give us um, whatever answer it gives us. It's going to be very very strange. So I'm looking forward to it.